I love watching videos of people organize their manga collection. Videos of people placing uniform books on shelves lined up in perfection. It's so satisfying to me. But when watching manga collection videos, you usually end up seeing manga hauls as well. The two kind of go hand in hand. And watching videos of people buying things can be fun, and it's a cool way to learn about new series. However, why are we spending thousands of dollars buying hundreds of volumes of manga we're not reading? Spending money for the sake of spending money, buying things because someone online said you need it or that it would make you cool. The idea of buying manga and books is a different hobby to actually reading them. I've noticed over the past few years a community around buying manga to display on a shelf for the sake of having manga on a shelf pop up online, and what's that about? Overconsumption in hobbies seems to be a hot topic for commentary YouTubers over the past few years, and I am not a commentary YouTuber at all whatsoever, but this is tangentially related to the kinds of videos I like to make. And I just think it's a really interesting conversation, and it's fascinating to talk about, I guess, overconsumption as it relates to anime and manga, because I feel like anime and manga as like a hobby and an interest does encourage you to collect a lot of things, and finding that difference between having a collection and spending money and buying a bunch of things just to spend money and buy a bunch of things is something that it's a different distinction for everyone, and I want to yap about it, so that's what we're doing today. Full transparency, I am guilty of getting wrapped up in the mindset of needing to expand my collection, not only as fast as possible, but before the goods are no longer accessible. Buying manga for animes I've seen with no intention of reading them, and buying faster than I'm reading because I'm scared that when I do get around to needing that particular volume, it won't be available anymore. So why is this even worth talking about? Well, it had kind of been bothering me for a while, but lately, and by lately I mean a few months ago, there was a trend going around on Twitter of people sharing their manga collections, and suddenly having a robust collection is grounds for being ridiculed for overconsumption. I don't know, I think there's a really big difference between someone who's collected manga they're passionate about and someone who has spent years, maybe even decades, building up their personal library, and someone who dropped thousands of dollars in the span of a month on the most popular series because that's just what was trendy. Overconsumption as a topic has become very talked about as many become aware of the unsustainable ways that capitalism has been draining everything. And I will say, everything I've seen about this conversation has been very America-centric, but that is where I live. So that is the community that I see the most of, is the American anime and manga community. Overconsumption, for those who don't know, refers to the consumer behavior of buying in excessive amounts, driving a system that overextends what our resources can sustain. This usually refers to fast fashion, but when it comes to collecting things, and manga in particular, overconsumption gets a little messy. Some would argue that the idea of collecting in general is overconsumption, but I think that is silly, because I love to be surrounded by physical reminders of things that I love. To me, overconsumption in the context of collecting and anime and manga is really just excessive trend hopping and shopping to match those trends, if that makes sense. What makes goods seem unsustainable is the sheer speed at which people gobble up and discard things. It's buying 50 Stanley Cups you don't need that'll sit on a shelf until you throw them away. It's buying 30 cheap tops that'll end up in landfills in a year. It's buying 100 books you'll never read and eventually throw out. And it's buying an entire series of manga like Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man that you will never read and discard in a year because it's popular and trendy now. I am fully aware that a lot of people who collect manga read everything or have the intention of reading everything that they own. I am not talking about those people. Like many cultural observations that I've had in recent years, my thoughts on overconsumption and manga collecting goes back to the COVID lockdown. Anime got really popular on TikTok, many people got into it for the first time, and I think many of us witnessed that, and it was recent enough that we don't really need to rehash it all in detail. But one thing I do want to zero in on is the community that formed around collecting. Wanting to decorate your space with things you love is not a crime, and if it is, I'm the first one going to jail. I am an incredibly cluttered person with tons of evidence of the things I like plastered all over my room. But what's new to me, and what feels like a key part to this whole thing, is the content people were creating about collecting. Come manga shopping with me, TikTok showing off hauls, manga reorganization that kind of emphasized the sheer amount of manga almost as a shock factor, because let's be real, organizing 10 volumes of manga versus organizing 700 plus volumes of manga, one of those is way more interesting, and we all know which one we're clicking on. Nothing is inherently wrong with these videos. I love them. The call is coming from inside the house here. But I do think this kind of content getting popular created a culture of collecting to show off to others, less so collecting for yourself. It's fun and exciting to connect with people who have shared interests, so it makes sense to want to share your collections online. And when social lives turned totally online for a little while, and for some of us still kind of are, it made sense to share videos about our collections. These videos create engagement because we're commenting about what's in the collection, what we have in common, things that we like. This engagement causes these videos to gain traction and get more attention, and it's just a cycle that feeds into itself. Attention is good. Attention is fun. And when a video format works for someone, others who want to be content creators try it out, and suddenly you have a genre of content: manga collecting. Manga collecting YouTube is genuinely a really fun place to see what others are reading and see what series people like. And to satiate the urge of lining books up on a shelf, you kind of live vicariously through people who make content like this. And when something does well online, people hop onto that trend to get the same success. That success leads to feeling of community, and you suddenly have hundreds or thousands of people connecting over a shared love of anime and manga, and collecting goods that represent that anime and manga. And when you want to craft something specifically to get the most attention possible, you're going to hone in on what has the most mainstream appeal, what the most people can bond over. And now everyone's manga collection looks the same. Everyone is dropping thousands of dollars on Jujutsu Kaisen and whatever else is insanely popular that month. I know in like 2021, maybe 2022, everyone's manga collection was Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Ajin, and like a handful of, maybe if you're lucky, some classics that have always been popular, or just like really popular Shonen Jump titles like My Hero Academia as well. Everyone was collecting the same things. And again, these series are good. I love these series. These series are popular for a reason, so it makes sense that a lot of people have them in their collection. But if you've been around like the manga collecting internet community for a while, a lot of people complain about everyone only collecting the same 3 series. I know this sounds a little stupid, and that's because it is. It's ridiculous to complain about, but it's also ridiculous to be collecting things for social media points, and this also just isn't unique to anime and manga. This is like a thing. It's not just this community. We saw the same thing with Stanley Cups a couple years back, and when something is popular online, collecting becomes a quick way to make a popular video, and people feel the need to buy as much as they can because it's like a thing on social media, and being in on the new thing is fun. It feels like community. It makes you feel youthful and trendy and cool. It's the Labubu's. And I want to reiterate, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this. Maybe it's a symptom of lacking community and trying to build an identity around the kinds of things that we buy, because capitalism has sold the idea of material goods making a person who they are. And I don't think this is more of a character flaw of the society we live in and less so an individual flaw. Because I really need people to know I am not judging y'all for this, because I do it too. Manga collecting became a way for people to connect with other anime and manga fans, and I do think that's great. But the way that connecting with collections turned into encouraging one another to go out and buy as much as possible, as often as possible, is what bothers me, and is what I think makes this feel like overconsumption and not really a sustainable thing to do. This might be more of like looking at a community that doesn't exist as strongly as it used to, because manga prices have gone up a lot over the past couple of years and nobody has money anymore. So maybe I'm really, really late to this conversation, but that's okay. Shopping hauls as a content format are not new, and the gratuitous levels of overspending for shock value is a part of what makes content like that work. I get that. Most of the criticism for this kind of content comes up with the participation of harmful markets, like fast fashion. Cheap products that don't hold up, produced under harsh working environments that end up in landfills. How does this relate to manga? This is a stretch. This is by far a stretch, but I do think shopping haul content encourages others in the community to buy as much as possible. It's fun to add things to your collection, and it's fun to go to bookstores and look at what's available. It's fun to get good deals online. It is fun to shop. It's also fun to have an entire series. The gratification of completing a collection is so good. The proof of devotion. I think all of this drives people to drop a shit ton of money buying an entire series that they haven't even read yet. And that kind of leads you into the discussion of LARPers, but I think it's stupid to criticize people for not being as into something as you are. So, that's where that goes. It's one thing if you've watched the anime and already really like the series through the adaptation. It's a safe assumption you'll like the manga. But why am I seeing people buy entire series that have no anime adaptation and talk about how they haven't read it yet and they hope they like it? Girl, we should have figured that out before we spent hundreds of dollars buying 10 volumes of the series you know next to nothing about. I just think it's kind of irresponsible to sink so much money into something you haven't given a test run yet, but maybe this comes from me being a person who used to get into things either through anime or scans online. So most of the things I have on my shelf, even though I've not read it yet, I either have seen enough of it to know I'm gonna like it, or I have read parts of it, and I know it's good. Aside from a couple things, I have a few things on my shelf that I got based off of recommendations. And I think that I'm criticizing myself here, because why do I have 2 omnibus volumes of a series I haven't even started yet? Girl, start with the one. A couple volumes to try something is one thing, and that's like $20 lost if I hate it, or $40 now, depending on what it is. Wow. Anyway, this whole overconsumption is particularly insidious in shoujo manga spaces, but not because of the fans themselves, if that makes sense. You always have super hardcore fans that think that owning as much merch as possible, buying as much as you can, shows your dedication and your love and loyalty to that series, and you're always going to have that in fan spaces that have physical merch to buy. Fans of shoujo manga, however, face a particular issue where capitalism and misogyny intersect. People in general do not take shoujo manga seriously because of the womanness of it all. This isn't my opinion, this is just kind of how it is, and I'm not gonna argue about it. This demographic absolutely gets treated differently by manga publishers in the US. Publishers and fans alike create this culture of having to prove that we'll buy the woman manga that's deemed as risky only because it's intended for girls, not because of anything about the series itself, causing publishers to only license shorter or safe titles with the promise that if you buy these, you may potentially get the chance of seeing something more. Fans are left spending money on series they don't particularly care for while they beg for older classics to be licensed. For example, let's look at the manga series Kingdom. Before we get into it, I've never read this manga. I'm sure it's good. I do like the cover art, and I am genuinely... Are you good? I am genuinely really happy for the Kingdom fans that got this license. I think that's amazing, and I think that's cool. So the thing with Kingdom, though, is that it is an old, long manga that would be risky for English publishers to pick up from a money-making standpoint. I think publishers should take these risks. I absolutely do, because I think these stories are worth being told and shared on a global scale. But I also think art and stories have more value than what money they make. So maybe my ideology just doesn't really work in the whole business scheme of things. Kingdom is one of those series that are only popular in English due to fan scanlations, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that popularity was noticed, and Viz decided to take the risk. On the flip side, When it comes to shoujo titles, Viz continues to play it safe and talk down to fans about the very same fan scanlations that got Kingdom popular and licensed. Hell, it's hard to get manga taken seriously and reprinted for shoujo titles currently seeing wide success with anime adaptations. Timon's B-side, anybody? That anime was really popular and it was really good. And the manga has been very hard to come by because they didn't print enough, and I think they took a while to reprint it, and they fumbled. Manga publishers in the US have definitely kind of fumbled with that one. And shoujo fans are told that it is our fault that we don't get taken seriously as a consumer because we didn't buy the manga 20 years ago and now read unlicensed and out-of-print titles illegally, like there's any other option. I need y'all to level with me and realize how ridiculous it is to tell someone asking about the potential for a reprint that they should have bought the manga 20 to 30 years ago. I'm sorry. I should have been an adult with money 20 to 30 years ago instead of being a child or someone that didn't even exist yet. My bad. I should have told my parents to get on that, make me born sooner so I can buy manga. You got it. There's a lot of newer readers that are getting into things and getting into older things because they got exposed to this whole medium and community through COVID lockdowns. Anyway, all this to say, shoujo circles have this idea that we have to buy any and everything shoujo related. There's this culture of needing to support everything to prove ourselves as a viable market that just isn't present in other demographics. This need to buy everything to show support in hopes of something you actually like will become available is absolutely a form of overconsumption. Because why are we encouraging each other to buy things we won't read and don't care about? And why are companies trying to guilt trip us into buying things that we don't want with the faint promise that they might license something later? I know for shoujo it's a problem perpetuated by the publishers who see marketing comics to women as a risk, but I think this does contribute to the overall manga overconsumption issue. It feeds into the performative aspect that I think is inherent in the intersection between collecting and overconsumption. I understand that all of this shoujo section is just how business works. Publishers need to make money so they can continue to operate. Yes, it makes sense to use success of certain titles to determine what you invest in. I just think the hostile framing of it all and the double standards is the issue. And this creates an environment where people feel like they have to overspend, overbuy on everything. And now we have people stuck with series they won't read, don't want, and will discard eventually. All because we need to put our money where our mouths are to prove a point. Now, I will say, I think the community of people who are that passionate about shoujo manga to do that is much, much smaller to the community of people that were buying all of the top 10 manga of all time, top 10 popular manga of 2020. These are not the same people. But I do think it kind of feeds into itself. Because I know there are even older like shonen series that are hard to come by. And if you're into older things, you kind of start to get this idea of, oh, there's a scarcity here. I feel like there's this idea of scarcity in anime and manga because a lot of us do get into older series well after their prime, and we kind of come into buying things with this idea of what we like now isn't going to be available forever, so I need to get it while it's available. Whether that's a smart financial decision or not is a different discussion. And you kind of see this with figurines and merch as well. Anime and manga also have a lot of merch that comes along with it. Acrylic stands, plastic figurines. I love that shit. I love it. But it's more things to collect and to show your dedication towards. And while this video was specifically about manga, I do think a lot of what was said here can also apply to merch and things like that, because you see merch collections and it's the same mentality. At least to me it is. Except for with merch collections, you also have this idea of the more money I spend on things, the better fan I am. And nobody wants to be called a fake fan. I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation that has a lot of factors to it. And what we talked about in this video is what I have identified as like the main factors, but I'm sure I've missed something. I didn't do too well in my economics classes in high school and college. So if you have different insights, please share, because I would just love to know. I think it's interesting to like look at why people do what they do, and to kind of figure out like why we have these sorts of spending trends, and if it's something that people complain about so much, why do we do it? You know? Because while this video is partially complaining about overconsumption in manga, it is a really common complaint when you look up people like discussing manga collections. Is there even an issue with overconsumption in anime and manga, or am I making a mountain out of a molehill? Am I looking at a molehill that is already being dismantled by a poor economy and going, hey, we should do something about this? Because maybe I am. This has kind of been like 3 years of just me thinking and reflecting of things that I've been noticing. So while some of this may not be super relevant anymore, I do think it's still worth talking about, because it has made me more mindful of how I'm spending my money and what I am doing with the things that I like. I look at YouTube videos titled, I dropped $2,000 on an insane amount of manga, or just things like that. And it kind of makes me sit here and think, am I being overly ridiculous with how I collect? Am I doing too much? Am I being wasteful in how I do things? And I think that is an important reflection to have, either for sustainability reasons, if you care about that, or even just helping you kind of prioritize what you want to collect, what's important to you. What do you like about your collection? I've been collecting manga since I was about 14 years old, and I will be the first to say, I think I have spent more on manga, and I've bought more manga in the past 2 to 2.5 years than I had in the previous 12 years prior. And that's not necessarily because I had more disposable income. While that is partially true, it had more to do with me feeling like I needed to not necessarily prove myself, but if I liked manga as much as I said I do, why don't I have much? If I like these series as much as I said I do, why don't I own them? Things like that. This is absolutely a me problem, but I know it's a problem that I'm not the only one dealing with and like figuring out and thinking my way through. And I don't know, I think this all kind of goes together in a way. For me, being a little judgmental and maybe a little bitchy about things that I see online kind of helps me step back and be like, wait a minute, why am I judging them when I do that too? Why do I have a problem with this? How can I fix this? I am not immune to the idea of posting things online for validation or a community or to make me feel a certain way, and I'm definitely not immune to buying certain things because I think they will make me a cooler manga collector or something like that. Definitely not immune to that. But knowing that I feel that way and being able to recognize how this overconsumption can contribute to that or vice versa has helped a lot, I think. I used to be the kind of person that if I had any sort of cash, I was itching to spend it on manga to expand my collection. I no longer do that. And I don't know if that's an age thing because I'm getting older, or if it's something else. Anyway, I know this isn't the video I said I was going to make next, but I'm still working on the Unpacking Meryl video, and I've had this script finished for like 2 months, and I was just scared to make it. I overthink things sometimes if it's really gonna be a good video idea, but then I've realized this is my YouTube channel, and I can quite literally do whatever I want. I can make whatever I want, and I should do that more, instead of worrying about what's going to do well. So anyway, Meryl is gonna be next week though. I'm trying to go back to weekly uploads because I like doing things frequently. And I feel bad when I don't make things, so I need to make things more. That's it for me, and I will see you guys in the next video, whatever that may be for you. Bye!